Welcome to, I don't even know how many we've done of these School of Lives, but has everyone been to one before or not been to one, a School of Life workshop? Not been? Well, for those of you who have not, we throw out these School of Life workshops 3-4 times a year, and we are trying to just present some real practical teaching rooted in the Word, but then just real practical things. So we've done things on marriage and parenting. We've done hospitality. Kathy did an amazing job. And unfortunately, we had snow that day, big snow. But she did an amazing job. We've done stuff on finance, boundaries, and all kinds of stuff. Just very practical things that we may or may not always just hear a message just on that type of thing. We wanted to make sure we're getting some real life practicality in what we're offering. So that's what these are. I imagine you're going to do a little break in between. So we'll go for a while. Chantelle will do some teaching, and then we'll do a break and pick back up. And I've looked through her material, and I don't know exactly what direction she's going to go, but the material that I saw looked phenomenal. So I'm really excited for this morning. Did everyone who came in, did you get a handout? There's handouts and pens up there. If not, feel free to go ahead and grab those now. They're on the table right back there. Okay, one per person. One per person. One per personality. Well, let's go ahead and pray, and then we'll get started here. Father, we thank you so much for this day. Lord, first of all, I ask just that those traveling, Lord, that you would keep them safe with the ice and the snow that's coming or is already here in some parts of the state. Lord, just it's been a doozy, but Lord, we just ask for your protection for those. But Holy Spirit, we just turn our hearts to you. We just attune ourselves to you, what you want to speak to us about, and just acknowledge that you truly are a God of order. And through being orderly, you are able to create and express in just beautiful ways. And Lord, we want to be like you in that, and we want to partner with you in that, and we want to discover together. So, Lord, we ask that you will just teach us your ways. You say that that you order the steps of a righteous man. So bring order to our hearts and our lives in Jesus' name. Amen. So, Chantelle.
Thank you, Josh.
Oh, you get that?
Yeah. Nope. I told him he's running it. I'm not pushing any buttons. So, first of all, welcome. All the way in the back. Not doing the front row with the family. Yes, you, Carrie. So for those of you who don't know me, which I think I pretty much know most people here, I am Chantelle Morone. I wear many hats here at church, at home, and at my job. First and foremost, this is my wonderful husband, Anthony. We've been married for 13 years. We have 3 beautiful kids. Thank you, Dave. We have 3 beautiful kids. We have a tween girl, a 6-year-old tornado of a boy, and a 3-year-old princess who is the boss of the house. I am also a Kingdom Kids coordinator under Terry Richards. I am a VBS coordinator, but also in charge of decorating. So all the decorations you saw last summer, those were all out of lots of things, but hours of work with the team. And then we are also co-leaders with the Van de Zandsculpts for small group. Last but not least, we are also elders here at the church. At work, I have had the pleasure of working at Principal Financial Group for 11 and a half years. I work in the compliance department, which basically means I always like to tell, well, John is our financial guy, but my bosses can investigate him at any time. So we joke about that. So I work for an assistant vice president, 2 chief compliance officers, and a director of compliance. So they keep me busy, 3 of which are lawyers. So I tell you all of that, not to tell you how much I have on my plate, or to say, look at all that I do, but a matter of saying, I understand. I know where you come from. I have time management and organization is crucial to my world, but I also understand that it is incredibly crucial to your life and your world. And I want to today set just a vision for what God says is time management and organization, and hopefully kind of debunk some unrealistic organization that's kind of out there right now, how God wants to have your life have order, how you can honor people through time management, but also make organization and time management work for you. There's no one way. Everybody does it a little different, but if it works for you, then that is great. And then hopefully send you off with some tips and tricks. So let's work. Okay, hopefully I know how to do this. Okay, John. We'll just go the old-fashioned. All right, so what is the problem? We feel, this is not working. Okay. Cluttered and unorganized. Currently, Marie Kondo, which I hope you all have heard of, has 2 New York best-selling books all about tidying up. And she has a Netflix show that is currently an international, phenomenon. Large media outlets like Meredith Corporation put out Better Homes and Gardens, Simple Magazine. They have huge parts of their marketing and websites that are devoted to just organization, and places where you wouldn't think, like People Magazine has a section for organization. So you can click and say, 14 products that make your life easier this year, or the secret to Mandy Moore's pantry, how you can get it in your house, which whatever. Or space-saving decor items from Tiny Home Living, which is, Chelsea is a fan. There's even a company here in Des Moines that can deploy 15 of their organizational professionals to come to your home or office at any given time to help organize you. What it shows is that we have definitely become the target of organizational marketing, for sure. You can walk into a Bed Bath & Beyond, they created a container store for people like this. So we have become kind of targets for all of this marketing. But what does it all mean? Is it everything that I need? And it definitely shows a need in our culture to be organized and to get our lives back in order. So, what else? We have become overloaded, and we are not showing up well in our lives. When we are not practicing good time management, we become kind of fried, burnt out. There are hundreds and thousands of productivity apps out there that you can download at the click of your finger. The top 5 productivity apps on Apple are note-taking, day planning, Time Saver, a calendar-based note-taking app, and a task organizer. What we want to get done, we are not getting done, and what we're getting done are not top priority things. So this is kind of the goal, is to kind of refocus. When we get overloaded and we aren't showing up well in our lives, often that causes stress. And it's just a fact that when you're stressed, it has effects on your body. You get headaches, you get chest pain, you're fatigued, you don't sleep. Your mood changes. There's anxiety, there's depression, there's anger, you have lack of motivation. Also changes your behavior. You overeat, you can undereat, you can have angry outbursts. Substance abuse comes from this, and social withdrawal for sure. I probably didn't start to notice this as much in my life as when I saw the effects of it through Anthony. When he was diagnosed with diabetes 6.5 years ago, I really saw a clear picture of how stress can affect somebody's body. If Anthony has a stressful day at work, it's not uncommon for his blood sugar to go up. That's just stress. That's not how he eats. He could eat the same exact thing that he ate the day before, but a stressful day will affect his blood sugar. So if you don't think that your schedule affects your body, then you are not looking hard enough or not paying attention. We have also lost touch with what God says is worthy of our time and space. All the examples I've given above are clear that our culture is desperately looking for a solution for this. So what better way than to go back to the source for how to solve some of these issues? So what does God say? Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. And always acknowledge him and he will make your paths straight. Such a simple verse. Probably memorized it when you were in middle school or high school, right? And it's one that we have used on many occasions. However, if I'm on my knees seeking God and his ways for parenting, for how I manage my money, for how my relationship is with my spouse, doesn't he care about if I show up late to meetings all the time? Because what I'm saying with my actions to those people in those meetings is that what's on my plate is more valuable than their time. So, Dietrich Bonhoeffer said, every Christian must be fully Christian by bringing God into his whole life, not merely into some spiritual realm. So if we need to trust God with everything, that means everything. The little things add up to the big things. I'm going to get a drink real quick, sorry. So how do we make his best the center? Productivity. It's the center of time management and organization. When we do all of this so that ultimately we are productive in life, right? So Josh recommended a book to me, and I have just been soaking it up. Read it if you have time, but definitely these are kind of some of the highlights. But Matt Perman lays out examples of why we need to keep God the center of our productivity. So we'll start at the top. We will give an account of God to how we spend our time. Kind of clear, kind of simple. And all we do, how we spend our time, will be taken into account before God. Romans 14:12. So then each of us will give an account of himself to God. So did you busy yourself with stuff, or did you busy yourself with his stuff? Kind of there you go. Excluding God is the ultimate in unproductivity. John 15:5-6 says, I am the vine and you are the branches. If a man remains in me and I in him, he will bear much fruit. Apart from me, he can have nothing. If anything does not remain in me, he is like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up and thrown into the fire and burned. Isn't that kind of how you feel sometimes when you leave God out of the mix? You feel kind of burnt out, like, ooh, I'm just running on E lately and I don't know why. In everything, I feel like everything becomes a task. Your schedule, your laundry sorting, it just seems a little bit extra. And then God offers the ultimate productivity. Psalm 1:2-3. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law meditate day and night. He is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yield its fruit in season, whose leaves do not wither. Whatever he does prospers. Matt in the book says, we are to be productive in the work of the Lord, and beyond that, we are to know that the abundant results of our work in the Lord will not be simply temporal, but will last forever. So no matter what you're doing, if God is not the center of it, you are being unproductive. Kind of, period. God answers our need for fulfillment. This section of the book was so crucial and so good. It was like, I can't even break it down. I just have to read it to you. As Augustine said, God has made us for himself, and our hearts are restless until they find our rest in him. Or as Jesus said, whoever drinks of the water that I will give him, he will never be thirsty again. The water that I will give him will become in him a spring of water welling up in eternal life. John 4:14. So the chief villain of this story is lack of fulfillment, and it is answered and conquered only by God himself. The ultimate reason to center your life and productivity on God is because Jesus is worth it. And Jesus is what makes your best life now. God does a better job of planning our lives than we ever can. Jeremiah 29:11, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." This was, as somebody reminded me, was a warning against listening to false prophets, looking to anybody else besides God for the plans of your life. So don't get lost in the details and leave room for God, or you'll miss what he has for you. So we understand that we're accountable to God for the way we spend our time. We understand that he is better at productivity than we are and planning than we are. But it's our motivation in those areas that often wavers. So why do we lose sight of keeping God the center of everything? When we start to merge keeping God the center with why we're keeping him the center is when those clear boundaries and kingdom organization start to kind of unfold. And this leads us to finding out what your why is. So what is your why? So it's the beginning of the year. From basically, well, let's say it starts November, because you got to buy all the fun things for Christmas, right? From the day after Christmas through January, you're inundated with new workout routines to make you have the body you've always wanted, how to not to set your New Year's resolutions, how to not fail in the goals like you did last year. And everybody's talking about, okay, what is your New Year's resolution? What are you doing this year? It's all about resetting your mind, realigning, being more mindful, getting a fresh start, decluttering your house, airing it out, that kind of thing. So we've all been to the grocery store recently, and you cannot walk into an aisle without seeing something like this. Shortcuts to give you back hours. Decluttering every room in your house, meal prep in minutes. How to tidy your home in 10 minutes or less. 341 clutter solutions, small changes, major wins. Parent Magazine always hits you up. Happy New Year ahead, it's time to hit refresh. Like how they put that in really small. Happy New Year. By the way, you need to reset. And then you are one click away on Pinterest from 50 different ways to get time back in your day. So we've all seen these. We've all bought copies, by the way. These are all my copies. It catches you. It's like, oh yeah, I need more free time. Yeah, I need to declutter. Let's do that. We all have these small fixes. We reorganize our drawers, which is not bad. And we've cleaned out our stuff. It's important, but we end up redoing it because we don't have a why. Why do I keep it organized? Why am I doing this? So, this brings us to this. When we bring things in order, the glory will fall. This was a word spoken over Heartland by one of our external overseers, Paul Yadao. And as we were sitting in a meeting recently, and Pastor Dave was speaking, it was like a light bulb kind of went off when he was talking about it. And that if administration and hospitality and relational apprenticeship are really something that Heartland is kind of building upon, we need to take this on at a personal level as well. And this is why finding our why we do things is so important. So, what is your why? This is where I kind of want you to think as I'm talking. Looking into the season of your life, what has God called you to? This is incredibly unique to each person. Might be as a couple, might be individually. Personally, Anthony and I are called to bless people financially. But the truth of that is that if our finances are not in order, we can't do what God called us to. I have a strong, calling to the administrative, but I also have 3 children that God has called Anthony and I to raise. I'm in an administrative role at work, but I'm also able to use that administration to help bless my children by working in Kingdom Kids. And by working in Kingdom Kids and using my administrative gift, I am able to help grow them up in the Lord and hopefully raise them up as leaders down the way. So, what has God called you to? Has he called you to hospitality? Opening up your home to those in need, or serve as a vessel for a Bible study? Are you called to do more teaching? Has God called you to mentor or bring up the new leaders in the church? To intercede more? To use your cooking skills to bless others? Or to financially bless others? What are your goals? Physically, mentally, spiritually? And what are their whys? Goals are, it can be a huge variety of things. You need to lose 10 pounds because your knees hurt, and it would just feel much better if you did. You want to run a 5K because your doctor said you need to do more cardio, or there's a foundation that's near and dear to your heart that you want to raise money for. You want to read more. You want to open up doors at work for development opportunities, and build your knowledge. Spending more time with Jesus because, honestly, he's the wellspring of life. Spend more time with your kids because you've noticed them acting out more because you haven't been around lately. Date nights, keeping your love on, staying connected with your spouse. Making your bed daily, can be small things. Making your bed daily because it helps de-stress your mornings or your evenings. What are your pain points? These are items, either big or small, that keep you from accomplishing your goals that God has called you to. You can never find your keys or your phone, so you're always late. You have neck kinks because you're constantly stressed about your workload. These are things that you go through your day-to-day life and they make you go, ugh. What are your pain points? You may not be able to think of some off the top of your head, but you definitely run into them in your day. Benny Johnson said, the difference between the people who keep on course and those who give up is those who stay on track see the bigger picture. So keep your eyes on the bigger goal and what you are working towards. So this is what we are going to do. What are the priorities in your life? What are the pain points? What are your goals? I want you to really thoughtfully think about what in your life God is calling you to in this season. We're going to take 5 minutes, and I want you to make a list of 5 items. These should not be your New Year's resolutions. I don't want you to have 50 things or more, just shooting things. These are the core things that God has called you to in this season. So let's do 5 minutes. So now you have your goals, you have your pain points, you have your what God has called you to kind of written out, even though you've probably known it in your head for a while. So now let's talk about how we know ourselves. So how many of you have taken personality tests? I'm hoping most people probably have at some point in their lives. So no matter what personality test I have taken since, I think the first one I took was in 8th grade, I have always gotten the same thing. It never fluctuates. I am, according to Myers-Briggs, I am an introvert, which will be not a shock to most people. On the color test, I am almost equal blue and green, blue by 2 points. And according to Gary Chapman, my love language is gifts. So what does this mean? It means that I am incredibly in tune with how I communicate and how I like information. But it has also helped me understand my organizational style and how I need to manage my time. I am an introvert, but I am incredibly goal-oriented. So that means if I don't take time to recharge from people, I get burnt out. And I'm goal-oriented, so I will burn myself out. I will work till 3 in the morning if I don't say, oh, nope, we have to be done with this project, or my husband says, put it away. So what that means is that even though I need downtime, I'm constantly fighting the need to fill my schedule with the things that I want to get done. So I am a work in progress myself. As far as cleaning out my home, it looks like a tornado. Anthony can attest. The first few times that he watched me clean something out, it literally looks like it has spewed everywhere. I have to touch everything. I have to look at it. I have to decide if I want to keep it. And I used to just want to do this all by myself, but over the years have let Anthony into my process, even though he doesn't always love it. It is helpful for me to have other people involved, even if I don't like it sometimes. And not that he wants to get involved with all my piles. This is my disclaimer in this. Personality tests are incredibly telling about who we are, but they are not the be-all, end-all of who you are. Being an introvert in a family of extroverts, and most of which are counseling majors and or professionals, they like to remind me that God can change people's personalities and the way they do life. So my disclaimer is that we're doing this personality test just to kind of find out what your style is, how you function, how you can do your time management, but ultimately who God says you are is the be-all, end-all, not a chart. So in saying that, second to the last page in your packet is the color test. If you've taken it before, that's fine. This will be just kind of a quick redo. Maybe it's changed, maybe it hasn't, maybe you're shocked, maybe your spouse isn't. So let's take 10 minutes and let's have you fill that out. And then if you get done early, just chat with the people around you and kind of compare. Are you a blue? I'm a red. I am not a red, or I am as far down on the red and yellow as you can possibly get. So if you're like me and I just told you to chat with the people around you and you don't want to, don't do it. All right, we'll do 10 minutes. By their personality tests, have they changed since you've last done them? Yes? Really? What? Oh, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Well, for those of you who don't know, Rick Erwood is my dad. And we were comparing, and we are exactly alike. Our numbers, his are maybe a little higher in the blue, but we definitely have the same order. And I think my sister is pretty much the same too. So that's kind of funny. But we all have our brains work very differently. So it's kind of funny how the personality tests turn out. So what does this say about you? Do we have anybody who's a red? I'm curious. Reds, yes. These are the people who love the bullet points. Just give me the points, get to the point. You're the director, you're the driver. You're not a red. Blue and red. That does make sense. But so these are the people who let's hash out this agenda. Let's get it done. You want to implement a plan. Let's get a quick decision. Come on, let's just go. Yellow. If you could just have a little bit more face-to-face time to chat about it, that would be really great. You're social. You like to inspire people. You also like to read rooms. Let's visit. Let's discuss. What was your yellow? Really? I don't know that you took it right. No. Just kidding. Chelsea's key term is, can you tell me how much you love me 50 words or more? Like that kind of a thing. She loves to visit. I know. Blues, my people. We like to see the bigger picture. There's creative thinking there. We love projects involving inductive reasoning. We love long-term planning, that kind of thing. If you can show me how this fits into this, I'm a happy camper. I am also green. Is anybody else green? We got our greens. Half. So these are all the people who like to take lots of data and let's break it down and make it more edible. So you are, give me the large spreadsheet and I'll make it make sense. let's set some priorities from that, but you love the detailed projects. So armed with your whys, I know we're doing a break like within a break kind of a thing, but so armed with your whys and your personality tests, we are going to take our break now. And then we are going to talk about how you're going to incorporate those in how you organize and do your time management. So we will meet back in 10 minutes. I rarely get hot, and I'm hot. You whistle. All right, so now I'm distracted. Shh. All right, so now we're going to get into time management. Anthony, you said you fixed it. Oh, wait, you turned it off. Okay. No, it wasn't. He said it was the battery. Okay, so we're going to talk about managing your time. Prioritization. This is key. So, what are your top 5 things? This is not your goals and what you wrote down earlier. This is what are the things you need to get done today. I know there are a lot of people out there that are fans of bullet journaling and making lists. I'm not picking on Justin. I'm just throwing it out there. But I am a huge list person. And so I have a running list of things I have to get done at home. With finances, I have a list for home projects, I have a work list. But what can get stuck for people who do lists is that you keep looking at all the things that you have to get done, and it becomes overwhelming. So to battle that, you look at what are my top 3 things? What are my top 5 things that I have to get done today or this week? At home and at work, and you put a little star next to them, and those are the things on your list that you focus on. Not to say that the other things won't become priority at some point, but this helps you focus on what the most important things are. Let's see. Then you look at, what does your week look like? I'm doing a work example, but this can be applied to anything. Say you have a report that's due Friday. You look at your week, you're like, I have the whole week to get it done. Then you start to look at your calendar. Oh crap, I have meetings all day Tuesday and Thursday. I need to start slotting time to work on this report on Monday and possibly Wednesday, but if somebody else has to review it, I need to be working on it the week before for that Monday. So it's thinking ahead, it's prioritizing, but it is also anticipating and looking ahead to see how can I minimize these last minute frenzies to get things done. How can I really lay this out strategically so that I'm not completely stressed on Friday getting this report out? Then, this is, because I'm nerdy like that, then I love big picture. I said I'm blue. But what I loved, there was an example in this book, and I'm just going to read a few of the Q&As. Matt Perman interviewed Bradley Blakeman, who happened to be, he's a professor at Georgetown, but he also was George Bush's scheduler. And it was an interesting insight to how, one, the president schedules his time, but also how it is a really good idea to look ahead, not just looking at what I have to get done today. So, how do you determine the president's schedule? In addition to the routines and the requests people make to get on his schedule, we will look at the year. There are certain things presidents must do, meet with certain other presidents, the UN General Assembly, and so forth. So we first plug in the national events, then the annual events, and then we will schedule around those. How far out do you schedule? We made sure that he always had a full schedule for at least 21 days. The reason being is that if I'm the president and I know what I'm doing for the next 21 days, many people don't think beyond that point, it made it easier for him to plan his life. If you go much beyond that 21 days, other than major events, we found that it got too iffy. How did you make sure his schedule reflected the major goals of the administration? We would have scheduler meetings with the senior staff, typically weekly, and also have major strategy meetings where we would map big goals and when to accomplish these goals. So if the president had to go to Ohio to push a bill, We would block out time in advance. We would put it on a schedule, so what most needed to be there. Are there any specific advice that you would give to readers of this book? You tame your time through routine, knowing what's around the corner, knowing how much time you have to do it. Not all your time is routine, but enough needs to be to create a framework. So, one, I'm just kind of nerdy and I like, look at what the, schedulers of the president are doing because I'm an administrative professional. But it also shows how important it is to look ahead and really look at your non-negotiables. What are your non-negotiables? Jesus time, your lunches, working out, bedtime with your kids. What are the non-negotiables that you want to start putting in your schedule? And then those need to be the framework that you base everything else around. It sets a standard, I guess, for your schedule. So my uncle travels for his business, and one of his non-negotiables is Sundays. It's one day that his wife knows he is always in town. He doesn't travel on Sundays. He doesn't book meetings on Sundays. It's the time where he has set aside for his family. This has become a non-negotiable over the years just because how busy his schedule is, but he found that people quit asking to meet with him on Sundays because he made them not negotiable. If something is off limits to people, they'll quit asking for it. So make your framework, make your non-negotiables, and everything else fits around those. I know that there will be bumps, don't get me wrong. You'll have sick kids, there will be deaths in the family. You could be down to one car. Manage that time as you need, and then get back to your routine when you can. Make time. Busy doesn't mean productive or healthy. I recently, one of my best friends kind of took a step back in her schedule and in her life. She was finding, she worked full-time. She is also a stay-at-home mom, but they're also youth pastors at a church. And so she was finding that she was filling every moment of her day with a kid activity. Even as she was driving, she was taking work calls or Marco Poloing somebody, trying to catch up on emails. Every minute of her day was filled with something. And she really felt like God was saying, hey, you're not getting things done that I need you to get done, and you're filling your time in. I need some of this time back. And so what she did was she disconnected. And what she found was that when she put in those non-negotiables, like, I'm really going to be strategic about making time to read my Bible, and I'm really going to be strategic about being intentionally unplugged when my kids are around and be disconnected. She found not only did it help her reprioritize what was important, but she actually got more done when she did that. And things that she hadn't been able to touch in a long time, she all of a sudden had the time for. And the things that she had cut out, she didn't really miss. So be thinking about that as you're looking at your schedule, is that, one, you don't have to say yes to everything. Not everything is a must. You have to say no sometimes. You have to set those boundaries for yourself to be healthy, but also for your family to be healthy. It is okay to set boundaries, right, Chelsea? All right. So, looking back at your why and your personality test. Hold on, we're going to do a quick switch. Yes, I made a mock-up Google Calendar. So, this is just a fake calendar. This is not my calendar. But it's sometimes it could mirror my calendar pretty much. Between work, I've been pulled into meetings a lot more normally. If you know me, you know my children are walking allergies, and I always have doctor's appointments. I work from home in the mornings, and then I get my 6-year-old on the bus, and then I head downtown. And then there's always events going on at night. So, looking at this calendar, and let me get a drink of water, my goodness. It looks pretty normal. There's nothing that stands out that it's like, oh gosh, that probably needs to change. This probably looks fairly similar to a lot of people's calendars. But when I start looking at it, here's what I notice. My goal of eating healthy is going to be down the tubes because I have made no time for meal prep. I have scheduled meetings and doctor's appointments and travel time over lunchtime. So what that means is, well, I'm either going to eat what they provide at those meetings, or I'm going to go out and eat, or I'm going to stop at McDonald's on my way to the doctor's appointment. So I'm not setting myself up for success for eating healthier. I want more time with my kids and my family. That is going to be pretty darn impossible if we are at activities all the time and they're in school and I'm booking up our Saturdays and Sundays with events. I'm an introvert. I see no rest time on this calendar. I maybe have a Monday evening, maybe, and my kids are climbing all over me during that Monday evening because they haven't seen me all week. That is not restful to me. Touching me and crawling on me on the couch is not, and granted, I'm not saying that as an introvert. I have to get out of my bubble because I have 2 children who are incredibly extroverted and their love language is touch. And I have to be okay with that. But I am now giving up the only night that I have free to basically just be a jungle gym for my kids, and I'm not letting myself rest. I want to work on leadership development. This is something that I've talked to my boss about at work, and I need to, start doing this. I have no time to read these leadership books that she's given me, but also I have no time booked with senior leaders or scheduled any job shadowing. I have no time in my day because in these gaps here, I need to be getting my work done. I need to be reading my emails, responding to people. Now I'm in meetings, I've scheduled over lunches, and I have no time to work on development. I'm always running late. I'm always running late because I'm cramming myself back to back with things. If I am having to drop my son off at the bus stop and I have to go from Waukee to downtown, park in the parking ramp, walk through the skywalks to my office, how in the world am I going to be on time for a 9 o'clock meeting? It's things like that, looking at your calendar, allowing yourself travel time, allowing yourself rest time. These are just simple ways to look at your calendar, but it's strategic. It's how you think about how I'm going to accomplish these goals. What does my calendar really look like? Is that helpful or is it hurting me in the long run? If your calendar does not align with your whys and what God has placed on your heart, then you absolutely need to reprioritize. If you are frazzled and running on E, that is not trusting God with your time. That is just getting your to-do list done. Likewise, like I said with the rest, if God is calling you to rest and you're not, then you are equally accountable for that as well. If you're accountable for your time and you're not taking time, then you are accountable for that. This was something that I struggled with probably a year and a half ago. If you know Anthony and I, you know that he finished his master's in August. So I was doing a lot on my own in the evenings. He would kind of be holed up read a ridiculous amount and doing papers and everything. But that was something that we had talked about, that I wanted him to go for it. I wanted him to accomplish this goal. I knew that was going to mean extra work for me on my end. But in that time, God kept telling me, I need you to rest. I need you to take some time. I need you to slow down. When you're home and you have the kids, you don't have to be busy with doing housework. Just sit and be with them or be with me. And it was a struggle because I am a busy person and I love to stay busy. But what I didn't realize was that as I listened to that and as I rested, sometimes I felt unproductive because I'm just sitting here. And I'm sitting here looking at all the things that I'm not getting done. But it was what I needed in that moment. And if I hadn't taken that rest time, I had no idea what God had around the corner for us, that when Anthony finished his master's, actually our lives were going to ramp up from there. And our work was going to get busy, and things that we were involved in were going to require a little bit more. And we are able to sustain that because I took that rest time and because I took a step back and listened to God and said, all right, how do I do this and how do I do it right? So listening to God in those times, if he's telling you to rest, knock some things out. Whether that means unvolunteering for things or your kids are not involved in 5 things, that is just what you need to do because ultimately you're accountable to God for your time, not the Waukee basketball program. So looking at your personality quiz in meetings and communicating with others. If you don't love long back and forth replies to emails, make sure that you're giving people direct information. Give them everything that they're looking for. Reds, you love your more direct and to the point. But if you're sending an email to a green or a blue, then you need to give a little bit more information. We know that reds, it's kind of funny. We have this sarcastic phrase in kind of corporate America, why have one meeting when 12 will do? This is that red personality. You want to get down to the agenda, let's focus, let's make a decision. But you are in meetings with people who love to discuss things. You need to adjust. I know. So keeping in mind how you do your schedule needs to be okay with your personality. Make that time if you're an introvert like myself or you need the rest or you just need the rest. But also make sure that you are lining up with God's goals for your life and reprioritize. So, in talking about meetings, not everybody has meetings. I understand this. But meetings may not be what you're thinking. Let me get back. All right, meetings. I work in corporate America. We love our meetings. However, meetings can be at work. They can be with your mom's group coordinating an event. They can be VBS coordination. They can be a sound booth training. Meetings come in all shapes and sizes. So you need to know that when you're meeting, most likely you are not in a meeting with all blues or all yellows or all reds. You could be the only red in a sea of blue. You need to be adaptable in those situations. But here are a few simple items that are cross-personality and are a good meeting practice to help keep everything on track, but also show Jesus by how you're treating others in meetings. 1, come prepared. There is nothing worse than getting somebody caught up in the first 10 to 15 minutes of a meeting because they didn't read the email string or the pre-reads that you sent before. Come prepared. Do your due diligence beforehand. If you need to do research on your part to bring good information to the meeting, do it. This is just kind of you would just be shocked at how many people don't do this. They expect that meetings are supposed to be what's there to catch them up, and that is not the case. It is rude. Oh, my word. I hate you. Okay. Have an agenda ready. Your agenda sets the tone for the meeting. Be sure to include any data or pre-reads before the meeting. You'll hit your green and your blues right on the head with that. They love their pre-stuff to read. If people get stuck on an agenda item, and we have all been in those meetings, somebody is down a rabbit hole on one agenda item. It is your responsibility to get it back on track. This is where I love in the IT world, and they do, it's kind of a project management system called Agile. And one thing that I love about it is their Scrum process and how they work on projects as a team. And they do these kind of 15-minute meetings on a daily basis. And they call them like their stand-up meetings. And they basically meet together. They're actually standing because you don't want to get comfortable. You stand, you come, you do an update on your project. But what I love is that the leader of the meeting, if somebody gets too far into the details, they say, I love the concept, I love the ideas, that's not for this meeting. Let's parking lot that, and we'll talk about it in one of our bigger group meetings. It's simple, it's respectful, it's saying, hey, I love the ideas, this just isn't the time and place for that. And too many people are stuck on the being nice. Oh, it's a great, maybe they needed to get that out or whatever. It is okay to wrangle your meeting back and say, yep, that's good, but we're not going to talk about that right now. Offer to talk about it outside of an email, or offer to set up a meeting with key decision makers about that item. If you are only getting to 2 of the 5 things on your agenda, it is not a productive meeting. Clip along, keep it on track, and let people know that you value their opinions as they're going, but it might just need to be talked about later. Oh, I don't know why I'm trying. Can I just fix that? Action items. There are always action items that come out of meetings, whether they are large driving decisions that need to be discussed or follow-up questions that need to be researched. Make sure that people, it's me, isn't it? Are you pushing the up and down or the side? Okay. Where was that? Make sure that people are assigned to these items. You wouldn't believe how much more productive a meeting is if you come out and say, okay, we need to, Brittany is going to go to the dollar store and research what we can buy here. Terry is going to write out, our code of conduct rules. Chantelle's going to research pricing on this. All right, I'm going to send an email, remind you guys of your action items. Come prepared next time. That makes for not only a productive meeting for that meeting, it sets you up for a productive meeting for your next meeting. You're not rehashing out the same details. This sets an expectation of work. Length of your meetings. If your agenda is set and you look at it and say, I'm pretty sure we can squeeze that in an hour, you probably need to make it a little longer. Likewise, if you have 2 agenda items and you have an hour scheduled, make it a half hour. Be respectful of people's time, and they will be much happier. Be on time, end on time. This is crucial. The number one complaint I hear about people is that when members show up late to a meeting, they don't feel like their meeting is very valued or their time is very valued. So make sure that you are showing people, this is a way that we show Jesus that we care about people, is how we show up for them. So on the flip side, ending 5 minutes early in your meetings or a few minutes early to let people get to their next appointments or their next meetings is also being respectful of people's time. It says, I know that you have a lot on your plate and I value that and I want you to show up well in your life. So don't run 10 minutes and just say, oh, I know we have a few more things. Your poor time management is not an excuse to not honor people. Disconnect. This is such a simple concept, but so incredibly difficult for people to wrap their minds around. You won't believe how many, we are all on laptops at Principal, and we all bring our laptops to meetings, and most of it is for note-taking, but you can tell when somebody is clipping along on their email. Be engaged, be present, help it be a productive meeting, or don't show up at all and send your notes via email. Show people that you respect their time by being present. Put your phone away. You are telling people that that person that's sending me an email or texting me or calling me is more important than you. And that is not the message that you want to be sending. I love Dilbert because often I feel like, as me and my dad have said, that they're peeking over our shoulder at work. Let's have a little pre-meeting to prepare for the meeting tomorrow. Whoa, do you think it's safe to jump right into a pre-meeting without planning? Okay, let's get this preliminary pre-meeting meeting going. You think you're funny, but you're not. Sometimes a meeting is not always the answer. If you need a question answered, send an email or a text. Be aware that you are not the only person involved in the process. People take time out of their days and their schedules, so be respectful of that. If it can be taken care of by an email, do it. If you can call and have a 10-minute conversation and get something resolved, do that instead. If you need to collaborate on a document, set up a Google Doc and collaborate that way. You don't need an hour and a half meeting to hash out a document. Meetings are not always the solution. Just be respectful of people's times. So, some tools for time management. Google Calendar. We've already seen how I did my my faux calendar. This is actually my real calendar, not including my work calendar. But as you can see, you can set it up. I have various different, sorry Josh, I'm sorry if you can't see, calendars set up. Yes, they're color-coded, but that's just how Google does it. I love it, but within Google, you can also, of course, you know how to set up a meeting. Add your meeting name, your times, if it repeats, location. The great thing about this and the great thing about Google is that now you can do this meeting as a hangout. You don't all have to travel to one location. You can do a quick 30-minute meeting or catch up or touch base via electronic. Just make sure you have a good Wi-Fi connection. This is Cozy, owned by Meredith Corporation. So this is a great website for especially families. You can keep everything in one place. Family calendars, to-do lists, shopping lists, recipes, meal planning, family journals, and it can give you just an overview of everybody's schedule in your family. You can also email your grocery list to your husband on his way home from work, that kind of thing. So I encourage you, if this is something that you're looking at, to go to the Cozy website, which is on the back resource page. But this is just a quick little overview of something that is pretty great. It is across all, it is free, and it is across all devices, so Apple, Android, Windows phones, and also has a browser, so you can sign in from a computer if you need to and you don't have your phone. If you don't love electronic planning, time management options, I know that in the past, Erin has been a little bit on the spendy side, but I also think she is probably one of the top producers of planners as far as just life planners in general. They are much, much, much more customizable than they used to be. So let me just start my little click through. You can customize covers, but you can also customize what's inside. So if you want to do a monthly, do more of a weekly, or even an hourly. It does have fun features like quotes and folders inside, goal setting pages, that kind of thing. Now, I know what you're thinking. This looks incredibly girly, and I agree with you. But because her husband and her son couldn't really use them, she made a more focused collection. And so this caters to people who just like it more simple and a little bit more professional. Black. I'm sure there are other color or cover things, but you get relatively the same without kind of all the extras. It's a more, like it says, focused planner. You can also go to Hobby Lobby. You can go to Michael's. You can find a planner. Find something that works for you and start using it. Aside from calendars, there is Wunderlist, my list people. This is an electronic list keeper, and I love it. It is across all devices as well. What it does is you can make different folders of lists, you can comment, you can share your lists, reminders, due dates, you can write little notes, all of those things. It is a fantastic app. I have used it in the past. Evernote. Do you need to note take? Evernote is a note-taking program that works across all your devices as well. Web clippings, you can do handwriting if you have a tablet, templates for note-taking, document scanning, syncs across all your devices. It also works and integrates with programs like Outlook, Google, Salesforce, and Slack. And that's just kind of a little taste of what a notes-taking page you can do. Check boxes, you can do all sorts of things. And the basic version is free. You can get a more premium version or a business version that does cost. I think there's a monthly fee with that. My personal favorite, and one that I use at work all the time, is OneNote. This is something that comes in the Microsoft Office suite products, but rarely used, unfortunately. And when you introduce it to people, it is very eye-opening. Think of it like, and I will run this as I'm talking, think of it like a 5-subject notebook. Only you can have as many subjects in it as you want. It is free form. Basically, you can click anywhere and type or draw if you're on your tablet. You can share, you can collaborate, so you can share a notebook with somebody and they can write within it. This is something that is used quite a bit amongst the administrative professionals at Principal. It comes with Microsoft Office. So it's just like by PowerPoint, by all of that. So yeah, I think you can, if you have Microsoft Office, I think you can get OneNote, like the app, individually and sign up for a Windows, correct me if I'm wrong, a Windows account, and you can do it that way. You don't have to have the actual suite for it, but it's a more roundabout way. All right, organization. Let's start with your pain points. These can be, again, just a reminder, either big or small items that keep you from accomplishing your goals and what God has called you to do. You can't find your keys. Your neck kinks because you're constantly stressed at work. What will benefit your why? If you're constantly late because you can't find your phone or keys, find a place to put your phone or keys. And then that will help you get out the door a little quicker. I don't spend time with my family because I'm constantly cleaning. Come up with a cleaning chart. Everybody pitches in and you'll have more time to spend together. My biggest one, there is no one way to organize. Give yourself some grace. And I'll get into a little bit more of that as we go. But basically, I have heard over and over and over again of people wanting just like that one perfect, like my pantry needs to look perfect. I need to find that one way that works for my family. I can't decide that for you. And my way of organizing 10 years ago looks very different from what it looks like today. I have 3 kids. You know, it can look a bit hectic now, whereas it looked really clean and pristine about 10 years ago. But it also changes by what I need, what works for my family, what are the pain points for my family. My organization will look much different than yours. All right, so some items for organization. Email. This is personal or work, and I'll run through these pretty quickly. This is just a way for you to, especially when you come back from a vacation or you haven't checked that email account in a while, most people will start at the top and go down, or start at the bottom and go up based on the date. But especially, I guess, essentially, that is the most unproductive way to go through your email, and you're spending a lot of time clicking through each email. Here are the 3 Ds of going through your email quickly and efficiently. 1 is D, delete the junk. Do a quick run through, delete everything that you know is junk. All the spam, all the things that you're like, oh no, I am not looking at another Waukee high school newsletter. Just all of those things, just junk that you know that you can do, get out pretty quickly. Then you have the do. These are things that you can answer in 2 minutes or less. So if it is something that you know off the top of your head, hey, what time are we meeting for Awanas on Wednesday? 5:30. easy, it's a quick answer, it's something that I can, boop, get off my plate very quickly. And then defer. These are the items that are going to take you a little bit longer. These are items you might have to research, things that might require you to do some tasks on your end and then get back to them. These are the things that should be in your inbox. This is your to-do of your email kind of things. How I do it, sorry if you're hitting my microphone. How I do it is I use Outlook, and so I categorize them into categories. So these are all my accounting emails. These are all of my, Tracy emails. These are all of my move coordination emails. And then I tackle kind of as a subject. So I'll knock out all my accounting tasks. I'll knock out all of my tasks related to my boss. So just kind of going about it that way. I do my personal email that way too. These are all my Awana emails. I have an Awana folder. I knock out all the things that I need to get done for Awanas. It's setting up that time on your calendar. I'm going to work on Awanas. I know exactly where all my Awana emails are. It's being productive. It's making everything work for you. So that's email. Let's do a home thing. Junk drawer. Everybody's got one. Drives us all crazy. And my children are in it constantly. Here are some basic tips for tackling any drawer, but this applies to closet or rooms too. Or garages, I should say. Take everything out of that space. Dump it all out, get it all out, make it a clean space. Whether that is in a room, in a closet, you take everything out of the closet, put it, I'm jumping ahead. Sorry. Get rid of anything that you don't use or is broken. Test your pens in your junk drawer. You don't need 50 blue pens if half of them don't work. Put your collection of random buttons in your sewing kit. It does not go in the junk drawer. It's finding new homes for those things that have just gotten, that's not actually where they live. They shouldn't live in the junk drawer. Get rid of the items. Get rid of the items you promised to glue but are beyond repair. I think that applies more for, those, I'll fix that. I'll just put it in here. I'll get to it later. Yeah. Dad's got his Gorilla Glue. It'll be okay. Group like items together. Put all your pens in a pile. These are my scissors. These are my sticky notes. All of the things. This is when you get everything in a group together. This is when you can do the next step. Then you'll see what size of organizational items you will need. Once you have everything, oh gosh, I have way more pens than I thought I had. I can't use a little skinny pen holder. It also is helpful. I saw this tip on TV one time, and I thought it was incredibly helpful because how many times have you tried to organize something and say, I think I need, about that big. I've seen you do this, about this big with my hands. Put a ruler next to the items and take a picture of it. That way, when you're in the store, you have an actual length and width of what you are needing. You get your organizational items, you put it all back, move things around that don't work. I can't tell you how many times I've done this. I get things in there and I'm like, that doesn't work at all. Have grace for yourself. Redo it, remove things. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And then repeat, because especially with a junk drawer, because of this. This is my junk drawer. This is the before picture of my junk drawer. Like I said, I have 3 kids. It gets dug around in a lot, especially Daniel, who always needs to do a craft. He always needs, I need scissors, I need tape, and one time he said fire, and we said no. So here's the before process, and here is actual me going through my junk drawer. I made him take a lot of work pens back to work. Yeah, all the blue and red pens went back to Anthony's job. But here we are in the end. I have everything back in the drawer. None of this stuff is supposed to be in the drawer. Don't know how it got there. It got moved somewhere else. These are ridiculously sized pens that are the kids' that are supposed to be in their rooms. This is all trash. That's how much you can just clean out things And actually, it ends up saving you a lot of space just cleaning things out. So this is the after of my drawer. Ooh, ah. I redo this drawer about every year. I get to clean it out, and I'll admit that sometimes when I'm stressed, I come home and I clean out my junk drawer. But that's just me. It just helps kind of reset, reorganize, and I think I've said at least 3 times in the last week, hey, put those scissors back where you got them. I just redid that drawer. To which I get, oh, yeah. So organization is continual because we live in our space. This is not going to stay like this forever. I am under no delusions about that. But this is what works for us. This is what's supposed to be in the drawer. I have a chapstick. I have a pencil sharpener. I have some pencils, all the little small screwdriver things that you need to get, I broke my glasses. There it is, that kind of a thing. Yes, we also have an EpiPen practicer for Evie. I don't know where else to put it. So, another room. This is Daniel's room. This is Daniel's brain. Here are some pain points that we saw every time we walked by that room. And it literally gave me high blood pressure to walk by this room all the time. We needed to clean out his toys. We have hit several birthdays and Christmases without really doing a good toy purge for him. We did one probably a year ago. Chelsea asked for some toys for her kiddos at school, and so we made an effort, got him involved in that process in giving some toys away to kids. We needed to put his clothes in a place that he could get to them without help. If Daniel thinks that you will help him get completely dressed every morning, he will let you do that. So you have to give him the tools that he needs to be able to be independent. We had to organize his books and donate some. We also organized his toys so that we needed him to know where to put them, because when he would walk into this room and we'd say, buddy, you need to clean up your room, he would get obviously completely overwhelmed. He didn't know where things went. He just would shove things in. That drawer got kicked a few times. It was off its rail, so Anthony had to fix it. This was a huge pain point for us. So we cleaned it. We cleaned it out. Yes, we did paint. We did a double doozy. So I'm not ooh, paint your rooms. Nope, that was just part of the process for us. Something you may not know about Daniel is that he is dyslexic. And so we are just on the beginning part of our journey of trying to learn how he learns and reads. So part of his room was that. We got rid of the books that weren't at his level, and we also made a spot for all the books that read to him, which is one thing that the doctor said that he would really benefit from. So all of those are in a spot that he can now easily access. We labeled his bins, as you can see here, these little clip-on dry erase bins where people write normally what's in there. Instead of that, we drew pictures of what goes in there. So there's a Pokemon ball there, which I was a very cool mom for making that happen. And there's a place for his robot dinosaur. These were pain points for him and for us, and we had to make our organization work for those pain points. If we had written Pokemon on there, he would have no idea. He would just be pulling out drawers all the time to see what's in them so that he knew what was in them. So making those labels, although it doesn't benefit me, it benefits Daniel immensely and helps me because now he knows how to pick up his room and where to put things. We utilized his underbed storage. We made one whole side of his underbed, so I guess I have to explain. There's 2 of these rolling drawer things under his bed. One of them is for blankets, things that we don't use very often, and we made a whole one for Legos because we are sick of stepping on them. And so now it's everything goes in that drawer. I don't care if it's in the bins, you just put it in that drawer. That is where the Legos go. He also now has clear definition of where things go. One of these drawers is for weapons, one of these drawers is for games. If it's a weapon, it goes in that drawer. If it's a game, it goes in this drawer. It's clear definitions for a 6-year-old to know how to pick up his room. It sets up expectations, but also makes his organization work for him. Another pain point was that his room is pretty dark, and so we added some under lighting under the bed. It was one of those things where he didn't like spending a lot of time in his room because of the light. So we fixed that pain point for him. All right. Batteries. As you can see, we struggle. Pain points do not have to be day-long cleaning sessions. Pain points can be incredibly small. One that is small but irritated me every time was that I had to go down to the basement to get batteries. We put them on a bookshelf in our basement because the kids were really small when we moved into the house, and we didn't want them getting a hold of the batteries. So for the last 2 years, I've been trucking it down to the basement to get a battery for my mouse or, whatever toy is no longer working. And every time I was like, ugh, all right, Bella, can you run down and get me a battery? Or, and then I'd hear the grumbling all the way down the stairs. But it was time to change that. So meet my $16 battery organizer that is now in our pantry off of our closet, or off of our kitchen. $16, but it makes me happy. It alleviated a pain point that seems ridiculous for some, but was just what I needed. And I have used it on multiple times since we've installed it. And I love just being able to go and get what I need, and I don't have to trek all the way down to the basement. This is an organizational pain point that's small, but it made a huge difference in how I get batteries and how I do my life at the house, for sure. All right, so your why. What are the areas that are preventing you from doing your why? Are you called to financially bless people? Are your finances disorganized? Is your home a mess and you don't want people over, but you're called to hospitality? Has God called you to cook and bless others, but your pantry overwhelms you? Start with one. Just pick one pain point, one thing. What is the biggest why on your heart, and start there. You don't need to remodel your home to have people over. What bothers you about about having people over? There are too many bookshelves in the dining room, and you can't get all the girls from Bible study around the table to host a dinner. Figure out what to do with the bookshelves. There's not enough parking for everybody to park because you can't get your car into the garage. Organize your garage. Fix those organizing garage is a big thing, but reorganize so that you can get your car in, and then that will make parking for what you want to do and your why. Use the steps from the junk drawer. Those are pretty universal steps and can really be applied to any organizational thing you want to do in your house. Take everything out of the space, get rid of things you don't use that are broken, group like items, assess what kind of organizational tools you might need, put it all back in, and move it around if it doesn't work. Find what works for you. You do not need to spend an arm and a leg on organizational baskets, label makers, or shelving units. It is often just a matter of cleaning out and regrouping and finding a new spot for something. Daniel's room cost us $60 for organizational baskets, hooks, lights, and it made a huge difference. Now we can't keep him out of his room. It is a matter of just finding new things because our houses are ever changing. All right. There is no one way to organize. Phone a friend. We all have that friend who loves to organize. I am that friend. Consult your friends or family. Anthony doesn't love organization as much as I do, imagine. So I went to his office and I organized his office one time. I bought some folders, I bought a basket for some things. I didn't have to, but it just made his space work a little better. You don't have to be the one to organize your space. If you want to phone a friend and have somebody and fill their love bucket by them coming and organizing your closet, do it. I was in my 3rd trimester and I love to organize, but my brain could do it, but my body just couldn't. And so my friend came over and I sat in a chair and I watched her, and it was the most wonderful thing I was ever watching. She emptied out the closet, got everything I wanted in there. It was amazing. You do not have to be an island on your quest to organize. Set realistic expectations. There is nothing wrong with picking up an organizational magazine or scrolling through Pinterest for some ideas. However, if it becomes a comparing tool and you are now feeling inadequate in how you are organizing or how your friend's house looks, that is the problem. Remember the quote that I read earlier about Jesus is the true fulfillment, and he is what makes your best life now. That is the key to organizing. Bins do not make you organized, contrary to popular belief. You can follow the magazine down to how you fold your socks, but if you don't actually use it, it's not organized and it doesn't work. I had a boss a few years ago who was a lawyer, an older gentleman, and he just was not what people would consider organized. However, if you walked into his office, he had stacks of paper all up on his desk and was out, people were always like, you should go in there and organize his papers. However, if you said, hey, I was wondering about this meeting that I was in November, what was that key decision that we made? He would say, well, look at his pile halfway down, pull out a paper, and there was the decision. That was organizing, for him. He knew exactly where it was. It didn't look organized to some people, but it worked for him. So, it may not look like everybody else's organization, but if it gets your goals done and it works for you, then you're organized. So, organization is not defined by how it looks, but how it makes it work for you and how you use it. So, revisit your goals and your pain points because they will change over time. This is something that you'll have to revisit, every month, biannually, annually. These are things that will change. Like I said, my organization and my goals were not the same even 3 years ago than they are now. Review your schedule regularly. This is something you should do. I suggest on weekly, but really make sure that you're aligning with what God has for your life. If something needs to be reorganized, you will feel it. Those pain points, it's the things that you walk by and you go, oh, every time. Then you probably need to revisit that. And repeat the process of evaluation and reorganization as often as you need to. So, in wrapping up, 5 minutes early, make God the center of it all. So your homework, armed with your 5 things, armed with your personality test, sit down and look at your schedule. Start aligning your schedule with your items. Say no and begin to say priority to the yes things. Say yes to the priority things and try out different tools for organization. Don't be discouraged if they don't work. Find something that works for you and try new things. Start to look at your pain points and how you reorganize your life and your house and alleviate stress and work towards your goals. Above all, make God the center of it. Trust him, lean on him, and he will make your schedule and your organization straight. Thank you.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, Chantelle. So much good stuff there. She said phone a friend, so let me go ahead and give you Chantelle's number. So the thing is, she's good at setting boundaries too, so she just may tell you no. But the thing is, God is very orderly, and yet we know he's creator as well. And actually, Chantelle is a perfect example of that. You can tell she's administrative. This is how her mind thinks, and she's very gifted in this stuff. But if you've seen the VBS stuff, she's a very creative person. She's a blend of kind of both things. But I think because she takes the time and sets herself up and gets herself organized and manages her time, that she is able to really express herself in a creative way and do the things that God has gifted her with. So thank you so much. Awesome job. Let's go ahead and pray, and we'll cut you guys loose. Father, thank you so much for this time together. I pray that that what was ministered to us today would just be an encouragement to us, knowing that we can take small steps, and really it's just a matter of flowing in life with you and just participating in life with you. And God, that's a fun thing, and we don't have to be overwhelmed by it, and there's grace, but Lord, we can also be challenged to step up and do things in a new way, and take risk, and experience great reward. And so, Father, I thank you for Chantelle, the time she put into this, for ministering to us. We just bless the people now. Keep everyone safe as they go home, as, again, rain, snow, sleet, whatever's happening. Just keep us all safe in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you, guys.